The NFL draft is 1 week away. Today we'll be doing our mock draft 2.0, following up our really poor mock draft 1.0. I'll say I didn't really like how that one turned out.
You
Kind
just
of
didn't like that I was taking the best player off the board, and I'm so excited to have the first pick here.
okay. Well,
I get to shake it up early.
hopefully this one is a little more on track. No trades for this mock draft. So I guess we'll start. We'll be doing a draft props betting episode early next week. And then we will live stream our reactions to the draft as it's happening. But let's get started. Nick, you're on the clock with the first pick. I made sure you had the first pick so you couldn't screw it up. So
Yep.
here we go.
Yeah, they're definitely getting Marvin Harrison, right? No. I think the Bears continue to build on their great offseason. I love what Brian Poles has done. They added Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, just a ton of power on that offense. So they rounded out here, get Caleb Williams. It's pretty much a lock at this point. Um, you know, let's see. Let's go on to the next one. That's an easy one.
Yeah. Not much to be said on 1-1 this year.
No, no. Well, 2 is interesting. As Frankie mentioned it last week, where thank you in the comments for grilling us on not remembering Will Levi Jeans' name. But
most important quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah,
we all know now.
How could you
Sorry.
forget?
Sorry about that, buddy. We all have, little moments, but the 2 quarterbacks that are possibly going to go here is either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I think in the NFL world that we are in now, I think Jaden Daniels is the clear number 2 here. A little bit more mobile than Drake May, a little bit more finished product right now. The Washington Commanders needs a little more stability. They don't need a project. Obviously, he's a rookie quarterback, but I think he's a little bit more polished off than Drake May is right now. So Jaden Daniels, number 2 to the commies.
Some interesting moves in the betting line today. I saw that Jaden Daniels and Drake May are almost neck and neck at this point. So something to note there. Daniels was the favorite for a couple weeks there.
All right, jump into number 3. I think Nick actually nailed it. I think the Patriots are going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. here.
So too. Thanks, Alex.
I was about to just close up shop for the day.
No, I mean they're going to go whoever falls between Jaden Daniels and Drake May. I think the Patriots go and get their quarterback, hopefully of the future. I don't know that Drake May is going to be that guy, but I think they have to take a shot. New coach in there, and they're going to get a fresh start.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. It's a great selection. It's great that they could get Sam Howell 2.0.
Yep.
Really just nail it. Take away their effective offensive weapons, and then they have a down year, develop bad habits, shoddy accuracy, and now you're going to give them no weapons. Probably the worst offense in the NFL. It'll be great for the Patriots. I think it's going to really help them continue their trajectory of being underwhelming.
Big Drake May fan there.
No, he's trash, and you should absolutely take McCarthy above him. But, I mean, if they want to do stupid things, they can have Drake May. He's a bust. All right. Well, at 4, now that I'm amply triggered,
tell me how you really feel.
I'm going to say this one's the easiest pick, probably in the draft form. I think they'll target a trade down, but they're really constructed right now that if they don't trade down, I think they have an obvious selection in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Hope they trade down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Chargers on the clock here. Definitely a few ways they can go. They get rid like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen gone. They don't really have a strong receiver core. But so like I think they should go Brock Bowers or Rome here. Rome Neighbors just a weapon, but just based off of what Harbaugh likes to do, what he seems to be, he brings in, Gus Edwards, he brings in J.K. Dobbins.
Greg Roman's the OC.
Yeah,
it's very obvious what they're trying to do.
it just seems like they're trying to establish the run here, and I think they go Joe Alt. So I'm gonna
Really?
go with him in this draft.
I also think they're primely set up to trade back as well.
Yeah, I do
I
think
think they
they're a
trade
team
back.
that would be targeting a trade back as well. Dang, you
I
get
don't
another
really think they need
tackle.
Joe Alt. I mean, maybe if you throw him at right tackle, but they got Rashawn Slater, so
Yeah.
he's pretty great. All right, with the Giants pick here, they're really happy they get to choose between two wide receivers who they need. There's a lot of speculation and buzz around the Giants going for a quarterback. But if you look at the cap hit that Danny Dimes is taking this year, and they have him for, I think, 3 more years on this deal. The GM's going to need to save face here. They're not going to take a quarterback this high, and they're going to try and play out Danny Dimes again. So I think all of that's just, off-season buzz. I think they should probably get Rome. He's more of a complete receiver, and Malik Neighbors is more of like the long ball threat, which I think actually pairs well with Danny Dimes. But I think they're going to go with Neighbors.
Gonna be running some 5 slot wide receiver sets.
Seriously.
I don't know if they have
Yeah.
any other wide receiver.
It
Yeah.
is
I mean,
crazy how
I
many
think they
slot
just
receivers.
prefer speed, and I see that with last year's pick in Jalen Hyatt. Obviously, he was a 3rd-round guy. He didn't pan out. They still need like a strong number 1. So that's, I don't know. That's the only place I could see them favoring speed over just a more complete route running type receiver. That's why I think they make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think Malik Neighbors is arguably on the same level as Marvin Harrison Jr. He's insanely explosive. It's just an interesting fit with the Giants that they don't have any X receiver that on the outside,
Right.
because I think Neighbors, you like to put him in the slot. He had a lot of success there. But yeah, it's hard to pass up someone of that
It is.
talent level.
Yeah.
It is indeed. But again, I think a lot of these teams, I think the Cardinals trade back, Chargers trade back, and I think these wide receivers probably go. I almost want to, I mean, the Giants may stay and take one, but I think they could go like 8, 9, 10. They could go, I mean, there's so many possibilities, but obviously we're not doing trades. So I have the Tennessee Titans on the clock at number 7. Another team that's very interesting, that can go a lot of different directions here. But as a team that drafted, God, what quarterback did they draft last year?
I couldn't tell you.
The guy who drinks mayonnaise in his coffee, that bozo. I think they probably go kicker here. No, they are probably going to go after, I think, a tackle if they stay here. Again, shoring up their offensive line for their quote unquote, franchise quarterback. And the next available tackle off the board is going to be Fuaga from Oregon State. They could go interior line, but the interior line this year is not as strong as it's been years in past. So I think they go with the next best available offensive lineman off the board.
All right. Falcons here at 8. Last 3 drafts the Falcons have had, they've gone tight end, wide receiver, running back. Obviously get Kirk in the offseason. That offense is pretty set, pretty ready to go. So I think they're going to be looking, obviously, here on the defensive side. You bring Raheem Morris in, who's a defensive head coach. And you look at what they struggled at and what they're going to try and replace. And the Falcons had the lowest QB pressure rate in the NFL last year. So I was between 2 guys here. I was between Quinyon and Dallas Turner. But they got AJ Terrell there. They're probably going to re-sign him after next year. And so I think they go for Dallas Turner in this spot and just get a guy who's going to be able to pressure the quarterback. He's going to be able to be that guy coming off the edge that they're looking for on defense.
Yeah, I think you're really cooking the books right now. I think if you're the Falcons, you run that pick in and you say, I want Rome Odunze and I want to have the most prolific offense in the NFC. I think that's what they would do, but Alex is very selfish and wants to make sure that the Bears get Roma Dunze. And yeah, I think that's the obvious pick. I mean, he's almost like a clone of Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's not going to be a long-term fit for them. And if we've learned anything from the Panthers last year, if you're going to take a QB, you need to make sure they have all the weapons to help them develop. Otherwise, it's not going to work out so well. So they'll run in that pick, and the Bears are going to have a loaded offense.
I think they trade back, but they have no second round picks. They're trading back.
I think they trade back. They're a team that will target a trade back if a guy that was high on their board is not there. Yeah. But if Rome is there, I don't see how you pass that up.
I also gotta throw this out there. There has to be someone willing to trade up. We've cited like 5 teams.
Yeah,
they're
they
trying
don't
to
want to
trade
trade
back. Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of teams like, no, I don't. I'm not gonna try to trade up for every single slot.
No, you never know.
I mean,
I think a lot of these next picks right here with
yeah,
the
these are the
Broncos.
teams that are primed. I don't think the Jets, but Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, Colts have been in talks. It's a lot of these mid
round. Yeah,
those are the teams. But
it's also not as expensive for those teams to move up if they're swapping picks, right? It's not like you got to send a 3 first-round pick haul moving up like late in the draft type of thing. So,
all right, Jets are on the clock. For me, it's between 2 options. They're going Bowers or they're going with a tackle. Who do I want to take here, man? I just feel like, with that Rodgers like injury scare, man. Do they go tackle? This is tough. I'm gonna go ahead and say they take Fatanu. I just think, they have an injury scare with Rodgers last year, and they're just gonna want him to stay as healthy as possible and just keep him very protected. He's a very impressive athlete. I mentioned this last mock draft, but ideally you want him in like a zone blocking scheme where he can get that momentum going, and that is what the Jets utilize. And so I just think he's a prime fit for the Jets.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick there. Obviously, Mekhi Becton has just never really worked out for them, so they got to figure that out for Rodgers.
The offensive line was pretty putrid last year too.
Well, I think the Vikings are absolutely ecstatic here. They're going to get JJ McCarthy, solidify that QB position after losing Kirk Cousins, and they didn't even have to trade up for him. So they're celebrating in Skull Village.
Yeah, well, I don't think they'll be able to get him at 11. I think there's way too much hype around.
I don't think so either.
I
think they're probably one of the teams that trade up easy.
Exactly, but then we could, you're still be right. If the Vikings are the team that trades, to 4 or something, and they take McCarthy, well, it's still accurate. So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, the other team here that desperately needs a rehaul. Sean Payton has dismantled the team so far. Obviously, Russell Wilson didn't work out after one of the worst trades in NFL history. Giving him that massive contract, obviously letting him go. You need a quarterback. This is a draft where you take a risk. There's a lot of names out there, a lot of hype around people. The 2 remaining quarterbacks are Bo Nix and Michael Penix. I think it's almost comes down to preference at this point in time. Both are established seasoned quarterbacks in college, both long, lengthy careers. One had more significant injuries than the other. And I think you play it safer and you go Bo Nix here. I know he's not like, the shiny object in 1, 2, or 3, but he's a work in progress. He's going to be thrust into a team that's probably not very good. I mean, if you don't have to trade up for him, I think you take it. But I mean, you could also trade back here. I think they could, if they think they can get him out later round, which I don't think he'll go this high, but for time's sake and this draft, he'll go number 12.
I think he's a good fit there too. And, Bo Nix had a ton of success with Troy Franklin, kind of a speed burner guy. And they've Marvin Mims, who they got last year pretty early on. So hopefully can find some consistency in game type of play.
Yeah, there's
Some
an article
speedsters.
that came out today too that Sean Payton is willing to basically sell the farm to get up into the 4 or 5 spot and draft someone there as
How
well.
many people to sell besides Pat Surtain?
They said they'd get rid of him.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Raiders here at 13. Obviously had a run on quarterbacks there in the first 12, so maybe they go Penix here in kind of a a panic mode. Probably a guy they could get later, but I could see them maybe, if this is the run of QBs that is going this early, maybe they take a shot this early on him. I also think they really need to shore up that offensive line. And a couple of guys are off the board. The top 2 guys are off the board, but you still got Fashanu in there, where I think they're going to risk it here on Penix and hope that the teams that needed quarterbacks are already done. And they're going to try and shore up that O-line and hope that Penix falls to them in the second round. So I think they go Fashanu here and try and build in the trenches.
They have Gardner Minshew, so they're pretty much set.
True. So, they gave him a 2-year contract, so
Yeah.
it is giving them a little bit more leeway to take that risk on Penix later on and hope that he falls.
I think he will too. Like at this point, aren't the Raiders lucky because they'll have the earlier pick in the next round, and no one else I don't think any other team needs a QB or would take Penix that early.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
it's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they probably risk it if this is kind of the order of guys that we see going. So
I like it.
All right. Got the Saints on the clock. So there's a few people that I would consider here. I would nail it down to probably 4 prospects. So interior, I'm looking at Murphy and Newton. I think Murphy's the better prospect in terms of. I think it's well documented in our chat. I'm not a fan of the vast majority of Texas prospects. Byron Murphy is the one outlier. I think he is very good, and this is not a great defensive tackle class. So I think he has extra appeal, and I think he has the opportunity to go earlier than expected. But because they had Brian Breesy last year, they already have that kind of like penetrating defensive tackle. They want to see if they can pan out. I think they're still going to stay on the D line, but look at the edge. So either have Latu or Verse. It's really just a matter of preference between the two in terms of which you rate higher. I think both have very high ceilings. I'm a big fan of both. And I think I would personally, going back to watching Jared Verse destroy Notre Dame. I mean,
All right, chill out.
It was an awesome game.
did.
I'm going with my guy Jared Verse here.
Yeah, I like them as a prospect, but I just don't see the Saints going edge this year with what they currently have. Like, I mean, they signed Derek Carr to be like in win now, even though it's not going to happen. It's like they signed him to be in win now mode.
Oh, you're in win now mode. Trust me.
Yeah,
How sad is that realization?
It's
Derek Carr
awful.
is our win now mode.
And so it's like they have enough guys on the edge that they want to contribute this year that I think the tackle is honestly what's probably the favorited position, but I think, and we'll get into draft bets next week, but I think someone like Byron Murphy would be a shot to take on odds markets. You can get some solid plus money on that, but I don't know about edge. But yeah, it's most likely going to be a tackle, to be honest, but we'll see. Oh, I'm on the clock. Colts.
Yeah.
Sure are.
So the Colts have been tied to Brock Bowers, but there's also a corner that I think is high on a lot of teams' draft boards that is projected to go as the first corner off the board. And the Colts, I mean, they just desperately need a corner. I mean, they have to be sick and tired of just receivers just teeing up on them every single week. They need to get a corner. And what sucks is I think in this position they would go Quinyon Mitchell, and he's an exact type of prospect I think the Colts
Ballard.
like, with just high athleticism, has the traits. This is the type of guy the Colts would target. And I don't think he's the best corner in this class. And so it's unfortunate for the Colts, but I think this is what they would do.
Yeah, I think the Colts are shaking in their boots right now, having to deal with CJ Stroud and now Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell, and all they really have to put out there is Kenny Moore and a couple rocks. So
they
if they don't go cornerback here, they have zero chance at
We drafted the corner
fighting
so
for that division for.
We drafted a corner last year in the second round. I mean, I don't care if they go corner here. But we had 2 rookie corners starting last year. So
right. No, Juju Brents was
that go?
I think he's a good guy, but like I said, you're now facing a division opponent that has 3 excellent playmakers in wide receivers.
yes,
Jacksonville's not terribly far behind, like with offensive firepower, but you got it. That was your obvious weak spot. And I think they would actually go Cooper DeJean. He has more flexibility to play safety.
I think that's
role.
who they should go. That would be like such a plus fit with the Colts. And but I just think Mitchell is just the highest guy on a lot of these teams' draft boards, and especially the Colts, who love these like straight athletes with all these traits, which is kind of what Mitchell is as a prospect. So I think they would still favor him over.
I would be shocked if Brock Bowers is on the board right here. I think they go Brock Bowers. Like I said, I'd be happy with either guy, tight end or quarterback here. But if Brock Bowers is on the board and they've been linked to moving up in the draft for receiver, like help out Anthony Richardson, like get rid of Alec Pierce, I can see that happening. But let's spend enough time on the Colts. Let's move on to the.
Yeah, I think we just need to take one quick second of you guys just crapped your pants when I said there's a good likelihood that Brock Bowers falls into the second half of the first round. And Alex and PB said, no, there's no chance. Here we are doing a mock draft, and it is now in the second half of the first round.
Yeah, but
would you like to explain that?
But we're also drafting for all different teams, and the team need that we might have isn't Brock Bowers. Like the Saints.
PB should have taken Brock Bowers at the Jets. That's what
I think he goes at 10 if he's there.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think could be a team that trades up to get Bowers. So we might have him like, I don't know, go to the Bengals, but you could see like the Bengals trading something like that. But you said like the end of the first round, Frankie. That's not
the second half. I think 16 to 20 is where he'll go.
That's a good range. I could see
don't think
the
I don't think he's going
Rams.
top 10.
All right. Well, I think the Seahawks go defense here. Top heavy. Sorry.
Gesundheit.
Frog in my throat. I'm just so nervous about this pick. No, I think it's a top heavy class this year for edge. So I think they go with Latu from UCLA. Pretty fast outside guy. Matches well with a lot of the speed on that defense from like the corners. They obviously value speed. So they need some interior line, but I think they could find that in the second round.
I like it. They're always a team who seems to go like best athlete defensively or best linebacker like pretty consistently in drafts. They're looking for that Bobby Wagner replacement still.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got another shite team here in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Honestly, I think they get the quarterback of the future, and they get Joe Milton here. No. Honestly, I mean, the Jaguars are an interesting team. I think that in terms of where they'll go, again, shoring up, their offensive line, they have to do something to keep, their main guy healthy, and Trevor Lawrence, if however you feel about him, if you think he's generational talent, if you think he's the guy, getting through his, what is he going on his 4th year now? I think So in terms of offensive linemen, I mean, interior wise, there's not a lot on the board that's, again, really jumping out to me. But I think they probably go with probably Jackson Powers or JC Latham. I mean, they're two different positions, but I think Latham is probably the more type of player that they will go for, a little bit better offensively. Again, he played interior offensive line for Alabama when he got to there, and then he moved out to tackle. So he's obviously showed his athleticism. So I think he goes here on the board to the Jaguars.
All right. Well, if we get to this point in the draft, the Bengals are running a Usain Bolt 100-meter dash to put this pick in, give Joey B another stud weapon in Brock Bowers. Obviously, you got the drama with T this offseason. It seems like he's going to stay there. It sounds like both parties want to stay with the Bengals. They want him, and he wants to stay there. So I think he does get another year there, but I mean, with a guy who's being talked up as a generational talent in Brock Bowers, pairing him with Joe Burrow and the rest of that offense is just it's kind of a cheat code. So I think they're sprinting this one in. Again, Bowers.
Right. It could be. We got the Rams on the clock now. I think this is one where it's a match made in heaven. You kind of think about the bar he has to live up to. Really not optimal for a rookie, but they do have a need in the interior D line, and I think there's hands down the best interior D lineman is still on the board. I think Byron Murphy is an obvious pick for the Rams if this is how the board falls.
The Rams have had a sneaky great offseason. They've signed two pretty good guards. They have Trey White, and they got another cornerback. So I think they filled some immediate gaps, and getting Byron Murphy here is, filling that Aaron Donald shoes. But
I don't know if he's filling them.
Yeah,
But
I don't know
he's
about
going to
that.
play the same position.
No,
So.
but Byron Murphy's game is not like this. Is getting like, I mean, he can take on some defenders that'll double team him, but he doesn't get after the passer, like get those sacks like Aaron Donald does. He's he's a great run stopper though.
Yeah, Jerry Newton, I guess, is more like Aaron Donald. I think they just take the better prospect, though.
Yeah, I don't think either of them are
These
like
Aaron Donald compared
the best defensive tackle of all time. But
if we're talking about
he found one similarity that they played this similar position. That's it. Who's up? Steelers? Is that me?
Yeah, it's you.
Okay.
Dude, you can't take this kid anywhere.
So Steelers, their offensive line is super weak. Wide receiver room's very weak. I think they're going with one of those two positions, but I mean, yeah, they have George Pickens, Calvin Austin, and Van Jefferson. That's the receiver core. But they did bring in Arthur Smith, and we know what he likes to do. So I'm gonna lean tackle here because that offensive line is still in rough shape. So I'm gonna go with Amarius Mims here. And I think he's one of the two most athletic tackles in the class and has a lot of upside. He could be much higher in the ranks if he had a full season, so you could evaluate him more, but he only had one negatively graded snap in gap scheme run blocking. And Arthur Smith's offense is more of zone blocking, but the Steelers towards the end of last season started utilizing more of a gap scheme, and I think they're going to carry that into this next year. And I think Amarius Mims is a great fit for the Steelers. A lot of upside too.
As a big boy, they like their big Georgia boys over in Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, old teammates. All right, we are turning to the Dolphins. They have signed I think, I kid you not, 5 defensive tackles, 3 linebackers. They also got like Jordan Poyer and Jonnu Smith. Like they've signed a ton of volume guys in free agency. The holes they haven't filled with that are their interior linemen, and I've also heard a lot of chatter that they are in love with Xavier Worthy and his speed. Big surprise. I think it's a little early for Worthy to go here, so I think they go and get the best interior lineman in the class, really, in Jackson Powers Johnson at center. Kind of a generational talent for the center position. So probably the best one since who's that guy in the Chiefs?
Agreed.
Creed Humphreys. Thank you. Yeah.
I don't know if he's generational. He's very good though.
He's got one of the best rankings for centers in a couple of years.
All right. Well, we are at the turn of the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year, if you do recall, I took a wonderful pick in the when they had the 10th pick. The board felt weird, and it was Quentin Johnson that landed with the Eagles. AJ Brown today, he's been posting images of the New England Patriots up and down. He did come out and say that was just him watching the documentary on Tom Brady, who he quoted as the best quarterback of all time.
He's passionate.
He's very, very mistaken there. It's obviously Peyton Manning. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but Eagles secondary was obviously one of the worst last year. It was basically the season ender. I mean, their season was just ups and downs. They went on that long skid. They need help back there. And Frankie gets his guy in Cooper DeJean from, is it DeJean or is it Dijon? What?
I think it's Dijon, like the mustard.
DiGiorno.
Okay, it's DiGiorno. But yeah, they're going to take Cooper here, make Frankie happy. I think make a lot of Eagles fans happy. If they do go wide receiver here, you may see a huge riot in the city of Philadelphia because they have not been very good at picking wide receivers in the draft.
AD Mitchell would be such a perfect fit for how the Eagles like to draft.
I mean, it
receivers.
would be on brand for us drafting.
It would be obviously the mistake of passing up on Justin Jefferson.
Well, it's funny you say that. PB was like all upset about AD Mitchell's. What was it, like his air yards, or what was that production metric? You were like, oh, he's such a bust.
Oh, I mean everything. I just think he's a bust. I don't know which one in particular, but
You're just about one of our
for someone who is
episodes.
athletic as him and his inability to get separation, or like it's insane.
Well, I was laughing at you saying that because whatever metric you were talking about, there's been 2 players ranked that low, and it was Jalen Reagor and AD Mitchell. So maybe the Eagles. Yeah, maybe the Eagles do go for him here.
And it just fits the Eagles loving these like high-end athletes. That's another thing that the Eagles like to target. So, I mean, it would be quite hilarious if they did get AD Mitchell. But
I'd throw my phone in the ocean. I'll be right by it. I'm just gonna yard sale it.
When the draft pick comes in, Frankie's gonna be cocked, like ready to throw when that draft pick comes in.
Oh man.
All right,
PB.
Jump into no, this is me.
It's not me.
This is
me.
it's
Alex.
Yep. Got the Vikings here at 23. They obviously get their QB of the future earlier in this round. So I think they could go one of 2 ways here. They're either gonna invest in that offensive line and projecting JJ, or their biggest need outside of quarterback, I think, is actually their pass rush. And so I'm going to go with Jerry Newton here. I think they're getting a guy who can pressure the quarterback. Most of their line is aging out or just not very good. So I think they're in a spot where they're kind of going, well, a lot of the offensive line talent has been taken up already. Let's go with kind of the best guy available, best player available right now, and I think that's Jerry Newton in this spot.
This is starting to get to before you go, whoever is the Cowboys, the range where I think wide receiver needy teams are going to trade up into that more middle range or lower 20s to get guys like AD Mitchell or Brian Thomas. Because a lot of these teams at the back end are more wide receiver needy.
Yeah, I mean, I think now that the Cowboys are on the clock, the board did not fall the way they wanted it to. I think they're really hoping that they get Powers Johnson here. I mean, they really need help on the interior O line. They could also use a tackle. So I think they would look at Graham Barton. I'm not sure if that will be their top pick. One element with the Cowboys is they don't always just draft for need. When they got CeeDee Lamb, they didn't need a wide receiver, but I think they're getting ready to shell out big cash for. I mean, you're looking at Lamb's going to get a bunch, Parsons going to get a bunch, and they're going to need some artillery to probably help negotiation. Obviously, you're not going to do QB right now, so Prescott's safe here. But I think this is where they could really target Brian Thomas Jr. if he is still on the board, add another element to hopefully revamp that offense.
All right, Packers are on the clock. A lot of their prospects are unfortunately off the board. Their biggest needs were tackle and their interior on their D line. They don't really need, I mean, I know PFF is showing they need safety. I'm not sure why. They just got Xavier McKinney, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the tackles, there's one left that I'm going to probably have to take him just because both Jerry Newton and Byron Murphy are off the board. So I'm just going to go with one of the highest upside prospects I think there is. I think he's the best like athlete of the tackle class, and that's Tyler Guyton. Yeah. I think they're going to take a shot on a guy like that, help protect Jordan Love.
Yeah, I definitely think
Yep.
O-line.
Yeah. I mean, I do think if someone like Byron Murphy was somehow there, they would take him, but
Yep.
especially after such a massive run on tackles. But Tyler Guyton's still there, and it'd be between him and Barton on their board. So I'm just gonna go with Guyton.
All right, over to the Buccaneers. They kind of had a huge free agency, retaining a lot of guys. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans on the offensive side. They got Winfield. They traded Carlton Davis to, I think, the Lions, who beat them in the playoffs, which is funny because they couldn't defend the Lions, and then they just give them some more ammo. They signed Bryce Huff at corner to replace him, but that's obviously not going to be enough. So I think here they either need to go like offensive line, but they signed, I think, two guys. One was Sua Opeta from the Eagles, and then they got like a guard from the Giants who is kind of a no name. So I think they, plug some holes there, and they go with Terrion Arnold, who's a bigger cornerback. They prefer sized over speed, I think, in that position, and pair him with Bryce Hall to be their two new corners this year. So
Yeah,
they definitely need to replace what's his face? Not Carlton Davis.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have the Arizona Cardinals here at the back end of the draft with the 27th pick. I think this is kind of a no-brainer for them. I think they have to go with the best available cornerback left on the board. I think it's going to be Nate Wiggins who they take. Their defense last year was awful. They're like 25th in the NFL, I believe. They allowed so many yards. They could go defensive line here as well, but again, where the draft has fallen, there's not much on the board, so I think they just take best available defensive player left, and I believe that's Nate Wiggins.
For sure. Yeah, you got pew explosives there, defensive guy. So
yeah,
On 28 here, obviously one of these teams that's wide receiver needy that we mentioned might trade up into the early 20s or high teens to get their guy. I think we're all fairly in agreement on this guy not panning out career wise, but I do think that the Bills are going to take a shot on who they think can be, that X receiver, wide receiver one to replace Stephon Diggs. I think they go AD Mitchell, guy who's been getting a ton of buzz these past couple of days leading into the draft. And yeah, I mean, they need to bolster that wide receiver room heavily after this offseason. So I have them taking AD Mitchell at 28th.
I mean, I think front offices are obsessed with this guy. If we're being honest, the smoke
been so
screens coming
much.
out are hilarious right now.
He's
Everyone's
going to
talking
go
about
way higher. I'm telling you.
Everyone's talking about the knock on Ad Mitchell right now is his diabetes, and that he could be a little bit of a temper tantrum if his blood sugar gets too low. So that just tells me people want him to fall, and I think the Bills get a really good wide receiver here.
I think the Bills are a very strong candidate to even trade up to get him.
Yeah.
I already have a bet on him. I think I have him like under 27.5 draft position. And I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really.
But he's a
nailed it.
complete bust. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at you get rid of Stephon Diggs because you're like, man, I can't deal with this dude. He's a head case in the locker room. So you bring in, you want someone that's like consistent. They give high effort, play in and play out.
Then there's a guy on the board for sure.
Yeah. So that's AD Mitchell. I mean, his route I mean, if you look at his success rate for all critical routes, I mean, you look at just blocking, just the high motor he has when the ball's not coming his way. He never complains. I mean, this is someone that, I mean, you should just give him a second contract now because he's just elite across the board. They just got the next TO. I'm pumped for Bills fans. I think this is a really good way for them to get away from the diva and get someone that's going to really bring stability.
Nick, in our other video, you may be right. Khalil Shakir still might be wide receiver one even after this.
Oh my gosh.
They got Curtis Samuel.
That was me.
Curtis Samuel or
Shakir.
Shakir might be still. They'll be wide receiver one over this guy.
Shakir's the guy.
They just got to make sure they got some like gushers on the sidelines to keep his
exactly. Alex knows.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, they're gonna have a water machine and just like a big like soft serve ice cream machine.
Famous Amos cookies. They're
whatever he wants, just give it to him.
Man, well, after all that, I'm on the clock with the Lions. This is one where I think they're going to surprise a lot of people in terms of how teams create big boards. They're the closest thing to Gruden on the Raiders, where the way they rank prospects just doesn't align with whatever anyone else thinks, and they don't really care.
Worked last year,
and it kind of worked. I think drafting premium positions is a better.
Yeah, well, who did they draft? Didn't they have 2 picks?
Linebacker.
They got Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and that linebacker.
The Gibbs pick was awful. It doesn't matter how good Gibbs is going to be, like how high they took him.
Yeah, I mean, you took a linebacker and
NFC Championship.
I mean, it turned out well, but their day 2 draft picks were better than their round 1 draft picks. And I think here they actually replace a lot of the elements that they had in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and I think they target Mikey Sanders still at 29.
Wow. That would be quite the Lions of them.
Yeah. Because a lot of people are going to say he's not a first-round corner.
Yeah, he's a Michigan
Lions
boy.
don't care.
He's a Michigan boy. Keep him home.
For surely not going to get any comments about the Lions if people have made it this far, for sure.
Well,
I'll try to keep it speedy towards the end of this. The Ravens, what I think they do, I think they're a prime candidate to trade back. I think it's kind of like whatever value falls to them. They don't have really any glaring position of need. Like, yes, they could use like another wide receiver. Yes, their offense, like they could use just a little improvement, but it's kind of just across the board. And, they bring in Derrick Henry. So I do think when in doubt, I think if a prospect like Graham Barton's there, I think they'll just go with him. It would be between him and Kool-Aid. But like I said, I think it's just the best available on the board for them. And I'm going to go with Graham Barton just because they did get Derrick Henry.
Step aside, Ronnie Staley, all pro left tackle. We're getting another one. Nice strategy there, PB. I like it. Tanking my division opponent. So I think the 49ers are in a good spot, sitting right in front of their rival. They're going to pull a Bill Belichick here, and they're going to go and get a wide receiver to try and hamstring the Chiefs, who they obviously want to get. I think the Chiefs probably want Troy Franklin.
Just have Hollywood Brown and Troy Franklin just burning on the outside.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
She Rice.
But I think
maybe.
I think San Fran, obviously there's a ton of offseason chatter around the Brandon Ayuk trade. So it falls off really hard to like Juwan Jennings if they do trade him as wide receiver one. Really, I don't know where you put Debo, but they probably go Troy Franklin or Ladd. I'm going to go with Troy Franklin, just keep the West Coast buzz going.
And then you let the best one of them all land right into the lap of the Chiefs.
I mean, the Chiefs are going to take Kool-Aid. I mean, they need a corner. No. I was about to be so angry with you, Nick, if you're about to take Ladd from me. Yeah, the Chiefs on the board, they need a receiver. Their receiver room is, it's Travis Kelce, and that's it. I mean, or Rashee Rice, who knows if he's even going to be available with his 7 pending federal charges against him for racing in his Corvette and Lamborghini SUV. Like, what an idiot, running away from the scene. He's going to be he's being sued for $11 million in civil court. He doesn't even have $11 million. So, yeah, they have to go get another receiver here. The obvious choice is going to be Ladd. He is just, he's the type of prospect that, people always talk about. And, how did he fall all the way to the Chiefs? He's going to be that guy. Like, why didn't someone take him? Why didn't the Bills take him? Why didn't someone else take him? He's at the end of the round here at 32 to the world champion Chiefs.
Wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
All the way to the Chiefs get him at the end of round 1. Unbelievable. All right. That'll do it for our mock draft 2.0. We will be back. This one a little happier with that first one. I don't think we're gonna get as many crazy comments.
Keep them coming. I like the feedback.
I don't know. I don't know if you do, because you mellowed out a little bit in this one.
I was taking the best available players on the board. I don't know. Same approach.
Well, we'll be back next week for our draft betting episode. And like I said, we will be live streaming our reactions to the draft on Thursday. Please leave a like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.